on, welcome all. I'm your host, Boo. And today we have a jam-packed show for you with a great special guest. Tune in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I muted myself. Today is crazy. We're pivoting. We got Rick rolled in the beginning. Hello, JPEG J. How are we today? She's going to read off the red tape for episode 30. Let's go.
We're doing great. I think this is the first time ever that we're doing a video live stream. We have a real human, a half real human, and a full pixel VRM, which is myself. So I'm very excited. I've pinned the link to the YouTube live up top. So if anybody's interested in seeing what we look like, there it is. And here's the red tape. If you are listening in live for the first time or listening back, here's the part of the show where I lay out some details for you. This is a recorded spaces and is made readily available to listen back to once the broadcast concludes. We run the show for 60 minutes with the first half completely focused on our special guest. And the second half of the show, we will open the stage up for anyone who wants to come up and ask any questions or put input on the conversation as a whole. And for the first time today, if you want to join as your VRM and you have all that set up, we can do that. So we will reveal more information when we get there. And lastly, the views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities we represent.
Yo, let's go. And we got the official Rug Radio account joining us today. This is fucking going to be great. With that, I want to give a warm welcome and a warm introduction to my guest today, Fly Ride of Shredditor. How are we today, Chris?
Woo!
I'm doing good, man. You guys just totally killed that. You crushed it. That was the intro. That's the best I've seen on these live streamed Twitter Spaces. Way to go.
Yo, I'm like moving all these tabs around. I've got a little note up here that says, look here, since we're doing the live stream. But we made it so anybody can, enjoy. If you're listening and you're in the car, you can still enjoy this Twitter space right here. If you're on your computer and you want to watch this live, here you can check it out. Here I am as my clone. I built this with my CloneX files, shout out CloneX artifact creators. I'm doing a space with them tomorrow. It's going to be lit. I did this with Lynn's studio. We got Chris here with the beautiful setup, the background, the lights. I don't even want to know how much that costs. We got JPEG J here, my co-host for episode 30, and she built this VRM all out. And look, I think she's in an apartment pod also. So we keep it all artifact here. You already know it. So with that, Chris, who are you? What are we doing? What's up? How far are we going back here?
I did this the other day and I went all the way back to skateboarding in the 90s and becoming a creator, filming my boys. I won't go that far back. I will say I've been doing video stuff for about 25 years. I've done it for sponsorships and brand deals and all that stuff back just when I wanted free skateboard gear and cool merch, you know what I mean? Before anybody ever called clothing from brands that you liked merch. But I've used video a whole bunch to build a brand that was at one point a brick and mortar, did the whole cool automotive shop thing with employees and, 2,000 horsepower, crazy cars and all that. And I realized that my favorite part of all the work that I was doing was just the YouTube stuff and the social media content creation and all of that. And all of the people that I was paying, like the landlord and the employees and all the things, they didn't actually move the needle much, but what always did was the content creation. So I kind of shifted gears and went hardcore just into content creation in, I think 2019 was when I decided to go totally full time. And then kind of made it my task to get other people further along in that journey themselves and kind of pluck them out of situations they didn't like and plug them into situations that they absolutely loved. And yeah, ever since it's just been changing the direction that I focused that effort. And that brought me to Web3 about a year and a half ago.
I just realized I can raise my hand here or actually in the space. I love that. I want to go touch on the skateboarding. I think that's incredible because that's part of my Web3 journey to an extent. I always use it as one of the things I highlight where people were like, skateboarding is bad. It's a crime. It's a fucking Olympic gold sport right now. Tony Hawk, everybody wishes they could have been Tony Hawk, but there was only one great one, right? And how much of that influence of watching those skate videos helped with your content creation? Because That's one thing I've noticed about people who are really good video editors and just like good with film is like they always have like a similar background with skateboarding and like, you know, fisheye lens, gotta love a good fisheye vid.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was huge. So I'm 39. So I'm from the generation that 411 Video Magazine was my shit. When I was a kid, I would just wait by that mailbox. I wanted that new video because we would study that tape back in the day. Me and all the boys would crowd around the TV at night when we couldn't skate because we'd already been chased off by the cops and everybody else. And we're back at home and it's midnight or 2 in the morning. And man, we were watching that tape for the 28th time, and it was only the first week of the month. Like we'd only had that thing for a week, man. We studied it. And so that to me was a big part of kind of my come up with everything was I cared a lot about not just watching the videos, but I loved to film. So my boys would be doing cool tricks and I'd be there getting the camera low to the ground because that's what I saw in the videos. I didn't have the cool fisheye, but I had the little piece of crap VHS-C camera and like with the busted like viewfinder because you dropped it that one time you hit a rock while you're filming your buddy. And so that was like a big part of it. And I'd love to watch the footage that I shot after that. And then it'd come to my part where I'm the one that was being filmed, and it was always terrible because my buddies didn't care. They would just film, it was all shaky and like they didn't put any effort into it. And so like I think truly that's where like me becoming a content creator, it's where it came from. I was like 13 years old, skating around parking lots at midnight, getting chased by cops. So that's it.
When did you first realize that you could actually get paid for doing this? And do you remember your first gig?
Yeah, I mean, I was always I've always loved to sell from like as far back as I can remember. And so I remember being like 12 years old. This predates really the skateboarding. About the time I got into skateboarding, the internet was just popping and I was learning how to do like cool animated GIFs and stuff like that, like in the like 96. And I remember going to like shops as like a little 12-year-old and I'd roll up and I'd be like, "Hey, do you guys have a website on the internet yet?" And the people would be like, "What's the internet?" Like it was pre like adoption when it came to that side of things. And these like baseball card stores and comic book stores and the things that I fucked with, right? And then I got into skateboarding after that. And I was like, there was a particular shop that I absolutely loved. And I was too young to like be part of their like crew and all that stuff. But when I hit them up and was like, "I want to build your website," that like I pitched them. I was trying to get that brand deal. I was trying to get that inside look behind the curtain, see how things actually go. And then he's like, "Yeah, sure, like whatever. We'll pick you up a couple days a week, bring you to the shop during the summer and stuff." And so I'd get to go hang out at the skate shop and just build websites all day long, and like just hang out with these cool kids that were doing cool stuff. So that all the clothes and the skateboards and stuff that I got as payment, I kind of look at that as my first like I hustled that side gig at 12. You know what I mean?
No, that's awesome. I mean, always shoot your shot. I remember in college, a friend of mine, he was like, "Yo, I bet I could do the website for this Chinese food company and they'll give us free Chinese food for like a month." And he did. And then we got free Chinese food for a month, you know what I mean? And that helped pay for other things.
Dude, that's the dream for sushi. I just want sushi. I'm like, "Please, I will make you banger content for your sushi restaurant. Just feed me." That's the goal. That's what's next.
So as we're talking about content creation, and as I've seen a couple people have joined us in Twitter live spaces, we're doing our first live video stream, by the way. And if you've got I see some clones in the audience. If you got your clone filter set up, you can join this video if you want. You can join the audience. You can sit in here and vibe with us. I'm literally trying something new here. I feel like I need to put my phone like above the screen, like my eyes, like when I'm, talking to someone in person, I like to make eye contact. I'm not like looking at the ground. What have you found that helps you? Because when I talk to you in video, man, it's like literally you've been doing this for years. It seems like you know how to like look at one screen and then know how to focus on the other screen when just like an audience is listening.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is just a practice situation, but like right now I'm looking right at you. That's my lens. I have a big ass camera lens that's looking at me. So I know if I need to connect, it makes sense if I want to talk and I want whatever I'm saying to hit better, I'll just look down the lens. And then when I'm listening, I'm not looking down the lens. unless I'm trying real hard to make like some compelling live stream listener content. And I bring that up because even just today, I was in a live stream. I saw somebody else, and the host looked completely disengaged. And the problem is when you're doing multiple things at the same time, especially when you're creating content, you're not like, sometimes you just forget, like, don't look bored and overwhelmed, smile, like keep somewhat of a smile going and nod your head as often as you can. So a lot of times to that point, my go-to is I'm just the guy that smiles and nods because I'm used to being on camera all the time, and it makes you a more engaged listener, so that if I'm not talking and I'm not the one that's being talked to in that exact moment, I'm still not looking like a bozo because I'm like looking around and, like being distracting. I look like I care about what's being said. Even if I don't, but like who's to know? Who's to
And
know?
that is something that we talked about. And that's where I'm going to lead in here to Shredditor, which you're working on, because, I started out as just kind of like a bozo in the spaces by myself, yelling into the mic. But then I got my co host here, JPEG J, who does an incredible job pinning things, helping me, when make the guests feel comfortable. And now we've got Chris up here, Flyride of Shredditor, helping us learn how to produce our show, learning us how to stream multiple streams. So right now, you're listening to a live Twitter Spaces. This is going on Kick Video. This is going on YouTube Live. And later, it'll be on Spotify right after this show concludes. And I think there's a way to do it on LinkedIn and some other things. I wrote down a long list, but it's getting bigger. And look, if you're looking at me right now in the stream, you see that I'm in my studio, which is like brown walls. I've got a Murakami flower printout taped up against the wall because we're building from the ground up, slow and steady here. And literally, when we talked about these baby steps. So let's get into Shredditor here. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, like right now, doing multiple things at once. I'm shooting a video, right? I'm not editing yet, but whatever I want from this, I can take this footage and I can edit it. I can run it through an AI editor. There's a lot of different stuff that I can do. But ultimately, if I want to make this Twitter space into content, a hot take that I usually have, and it's why I'm stoked that you're here and that I get to talk with other, Twitter Spaces hosts, is I say, it's not content until you make it content. It starts off where you're having a conversation and you're talking into your phone and that's going into Twitter. But if that's where you leave it, I almost look at it like you've just built a boat with a big fat hole in it. You put it out to sea and then it sinks and that's where it dies. Sure, you built it, sure you launched it, but like, does it continue on? Does it keep living out there? Because that's what content does. That's what real content does. And so I look at it like, if I'm going to be somebody who's producing a live stream and I'm shooting it and then I'm editing and I'm doing all these things, those three words, when you combine them, somebody who can shoot, who can produce, and who can edit, that's a Shredditor. And that's a term that I didn't come up with. My friend Sean Cannell is like the YouTube guru guy. He talks about it. Lots of people do. Look up the term. It just exists beyond me. But I was just the guy that's like, I should just buy that expensive ass domain name. So Shredditor.com is it's where I house all this information about becoming a content creator, how to get paid to just be a producer, how to get paid just to maybe be the person that edits, but they're never out there. You never see them. They're behind the scenes. Or maybe the camera guy that wants to get out there, and like notoriously underpaid camera guys are like the ones that make the dope car videos because they're in there, they're getting those angles, kind of like the skateboarders. They're not making any money, not unless they're getting hired by like Mercedes. So there's videographers that are just super skilled, but they're not getting good paid gigs from better industries than the one that like they came up with. And I kind of came through the skateboarding and in the automotive world. And so what Shredditor means to me is it's a place where when I get hit up about doing jobs that maybe the budget doesn't make sense for me to do, but I know that there's that perfect person that should be the host of that live stream or the producer of that live stream and the one that's behind the scenes. They do a kick-ass job every time, or they just want to edit all day long. And they love making YouTube shorts, or like they love storytelling. Like Tally is one of the editors here in Web3, amazing storyteller, right? And he does it visually through video, really short videos, but they're packed filled with storytelling techniques. And he does a kick-ass job. So I look at that like there's so many different types of each of these roles. There's so many different types of producers. Some of the best people out there, the MTV editors and producers, amazing. And you watch that stuff, the way that they weave that story in and they assemble all the footage and do all that stuff, geniuses. But most people don't even know that you can be a producer, you know? And so that for me has been something that when I realized that I had this skill set and I used it for my own brick and mortar business, then I realized my skill set's actually way more valuable than even my whole business. And like I need to take this show and like expand it and help other creators kind of learn different parts of it. And there's some people that just want to do it all, and we call those people shredditors. So sometimes it's very expensive, but you can hire a shredditor.
Yes, and we're collabing right now, and I'm hoping to get a shredditor. So I'm always looking to expand out our team. That's so much to unpack there. There's a lot going on. You definitely got me with artificial intelligence editing. Jay, if you could definitely pin up Shredditor's Twitter, so one of their pin tweets, any of their tweets, so people can go check them out. Check out Chris's story. How did you come up with the Fly Ride name?
That's actually a great question. I was about a year and a half or so after starting. I got really hardcore into cars just after high school, and I was with my girlfriend at the time. I ended up marrying and babies and all that stuff. She's in the other room. But this was like I was 17, right, when I got into cars, and so she kind of saw me learn about it. And the first thing I wanted to do was this crazy thing, changing my car from automatic to a manual and do all these dumb things I should not have done, but I learned a lot along the way, and made it happen. It was super cool. Made some little product that was these little glowing rings like the BMWs had at the time, and I was calling them halos. And then about a year after, I was like selling these things on the internet. Like I said, I always loved sales, always loved doing business on the internet as soon as I possibly could. And so I was selling these things, and then I kind of I had this opportunity to work with this business guy that he was just trying to buy something one time, and I kind of brokered a deal for him. He was like, you know what, you'd be really good at reselling my products. I was like, what's that all about? And he's like, yeah, well, the resellers make all the money. We manufacture the product. If you're good at sales, you can just sell our product, and then you could be like a distributor or whatever. And I was like, cool. He's like, but you got to have a business. You got to go start an actual company so you can get a reseller's license and all that. I was like, cool, whatever. Hey, man, you're the business guy. You said I'm good at this and I should do it. I'll take your word for it. So I came home and I told my parents, I was like, I think I was like 18 or 19. I was like, Mom, Dad, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sell car parts. Like, I was so stoked on it. And then I was just sitting there trying to figure out, like, how do I come up with a name for like selling, like cool stuff for cars? And I was like, cool car, this, that, and the other. And I'm sitting with my girlfriend in my cool little car. And she's like, she's like, what about Fly Ride? Like, oh, all right. And so I look at Fly Ride and go, search on the internet, try to see. It's gone. Flyride.com is gone. I was like, what if I just change the I to a Y? And so it's FLYRYDE. And it was like, cool, I could get it. Short domain name, flyride.com, 2004. Even then, it was hard to find short domain names. And so that stuck. So I built that brand for 19 years. And then I found Web3 and was like, just basically floored the brakes. I was just like, all right, all focus on Web3. And that's where I've been ever since.
Wow. I want to emphasize, he said 19 years. I think I heard that correctly. Everybody listening in and out or listening back, that is incredible. If you ever want to quit, just listen to Fly Ride here, going on 19 years. Had the Twitter account since 2009. How important? Oh, I got my phone up to myself. Look at this. This is great. I'm getting too comfortable here on the live stream, y'all. It's like I'm talking about here. Here's some people that are tuning in. There you go. If you guys want to stream in, whatever. I'm getting live here on the video. So what is like one of your most memorable pieces of content that you ever put out? Have you ever been viral like Rick Roll? And by the way,
yeah.
That if you were listening earlier, that was just because we had to change up our guests today because we wanted to keep everything 100%.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had lots of viral moments. Flyride just hit 100K on the YouTube channel not long ago, actually. The funny thing is like I wasn't even posting for like a year. But when I built it with like high value content. It's basically evergreen. Just teaches people stuff about cars and like shows them how to do all the things that you don't really learn many other places. And so I put so many videos. There's 550 videos on that channel. Most of them are long form how-to content. And so it just keeps growing no matter what, because old videos will just randomly spout and just like get big views out of nowhere. It'll be like a 3-4 year old video and then just hockey sticks, and just starts bringing in subscribers and money and different stuff like that. And so it's very much like a passive income stream at this point. The YouTube channel is. But I remember the first like really big viral video that I had an iPhone 4, and my neighbor was this like build anything you can imagine kind of guy, and he built me this cheesy wooden it was like a phone, like a video camera slider, and it had a motor on it. So I'd push a button, and I had my phone in this little like wooden like carriage, and it would just be like just do these little cool pan shots. And so I just finished this crazy riced out, like cheesy looking car, real expensive. Rich guys don't necessarily have good taste. So I built this crazy ass setup, and then I just sat there with my little iPhone 4, my little ghetto phone slider, and just filmed all these cool little angles for this job that I had done. And I remember, and I didn't even know what YouTube was at the time. Not really. I didn't understand what it was. It was just kind of like a, hey, here's me showing off that I did this for one customer so I could link the next customer to this. But that thing took off. It got over 1 million views quick and was like popping in Japan and all over the place. And like, I don't know. It was kind of one of those things. Like even then, even though that video had gone viral, I still didn't get it. I didn't realize like how you could harness the power of attention across the internet, like to really, really grow something. It was just this like novel thing. I was like, oh, sweet. A bunch of people saw my thing. And then later it was like, oh, cool. I'm going to make a few $100 off that. Dope. That was it. I wasn't ready for it.
Straight up Steve Jobs right there with the wood, right? That's what I think of the wooden frame and the camera, building out your own thing. Oh my gosh, if people could see some of the projects that are still stuck in my closet that never saw the light of day. But I'm glad you got it done like that. What's one of your favorite cars, by the way?
I mean, I kind of got a little bit jaded on cars overall, but the ones that I worked on the most was the Nissan GTR. And I did that. That was like kind of my specialty for just about a decade. So like all the really crazy lights for GTRs for like 10 years were on me. But it was like it's kind of one of those things. I love the cars. I just way back, like right after I'd started Flyride, I used to go to these underground like racing, like it was called Time Attack, and at the time it was new. Nobody had seen anything like that. It was kind of previous to drifting getting really big in the US. And we'd go to the racetracks. I used to live by a speedway in Southern California, in Fontana, and we'd go out there, and it was just the funnest thing to be out on the track and see, people just racing around, and it would look like they were going slow. So you'd be like, how come you're not like pushing it a little bit, buddy? And the people would come back like white as a ghost, just freaked out because their car was sliding, and they were just like, dude, I was flying. That was crazy. Scared. So that side of it, I loved. So I would just say like any of those cars that were fun to drive, that was kind of what I was into. A lot of the Nissans and stuff were pretty cool, but for me, it never got to be about like me caring about automotive. It shifted very much to being about business, and like my business kind of like I got really good at the content, but I never got good at leveraging that and the business being really profitable. I just had a very, I don't know. I built a jail cell for myself. I guess that's the way that you could put it. And a lot of the people that I served had the misconception that, and this is why I teach this a lot now, that vanity metrics on the internet do not mean money in the bank. So just because you're rich and nobody gives a shit about you does not mean that because I'm sitting here getting thousands and tens of thousands or millions of views on things, that does not like automatically mean that like I'm sitting pretty going to the bank. So like there was a lot of work, kind of just like I worked 80 hours a week for a lot of years, just to not have to answer to anybody. And the end result was having a million little mini bosses, telling me what to do because they sent me money to build them cool lights and stuff like that. So it was like those were the trenches for me. I mean, I definitely earned my stripes for a lot of years during those 19 years of fly ride, man. A lot of hard work.
The Nissan taught him about vanity metrics. I absolutely love it. So with that, we're 3 minutes to the halfway mark where we'll let people up if they want to come up. You know what I'm saying? You can be a speaker up here on the stage, or you can join this cool streaming thing that we've developed here. We got the graphics that JPEG J has done. JPEG J, I don't know if you've been raising your hand or waving at me in the stream, but you're welcome to say something if you would like. I saw her jumping around. She ran to the back of the apartment pod. Her thing was flipping around. I was getting distracted there for a second. I think she was getting excited about cars because Jay has a soft spot for cars for sure. I taught her how to drive in an airfield, and then I was like, yo, after she got her car, we then watched Fast and the Furious, and then she's like, wow, now I get all the references. I get all the memes, right? Like You and the Family now, right? You family. You know that meme. We've all seen that gif.
Yeah, I actually it was hilarious earlier that I was flying around in the space pod because I was actually trying to grab the dog. But the I do love the that you started out with cars because number one, I love it too, and my brother introduced me to Initial D, so that's like my in, and the reason why I have a Honda Civic right now. Doxing myself, but I think it's super cool that not everybody can get into a hobby and then learn something from it, right? A lot of times we get into things, we consume, we buy, and then we move on. But I think it takes a whole different kind of approach to be able to learn from it and then take it to something else and continue to grow.
I agree. I've been asked a lot by my family, and people, they still think I'm a mechanic. Nobody ever realized I was never actually changing people's oil for them or you know what I mean? It wasn't an auto body thing. I was doing specialist work on a weird little nerdy workbench with soldering irons and microscopes and shit. It wasn't what they thought, but most of it was just for them, and all for the sake of content. But a lot of times people would be like, oh, are you doing this now? Oh, you're doing that now? This is what I could say. Every move I've ever made, even starting back with the skateboarding and all that, and then I got hardcore into like toy collecting and vintage Star Wars and Transformer stuff and buying and selling and doing all that. By the way, I just got on Whatnot. I didn't even know that was a thing until the other day. So I got a seller account on there. So I'm gonna start hustling on Whatnot, selling OG toys. That's gonna be dope. But I always pivoted in the same direction. So I was always moving forward. A lot of times people zigzag, but they don't ever go forward, right? It's oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing this completely not attached to anything. My boy sitting next to me right here, he was doing HVAC. So he's crawling around in attics, and it was 130 degrees. And then he'd come home, and he'd be tired as hell. He just worked a 12-hour day. And this guy would still go out and film and make stuff for his YouTube channel. It was growing. And then I put out a little thing and was just oh, I'm looking for help. I need to have somebody come and intern and help me make videos and all that. This guy showed up and did that too. Intern, HVAC, YouTube channel. And I'm just damn, what a hard ass working dude. And he's been kicking ass ever since. But I plucked him out of the HVAC job because it wasn't him moving forward. It was him going side to side. And I was quit your job, come work for me. We're going to make TikTok videos. And 2 days later, dude quit his job and was over here and shooting TikTok videos with me. And we kicked ass and did a lot of cool stuff. And since then, he's kind of gone more full time with his content creation where I don't pay him shit, but I still want him to be here editing next to me every day because I got to vibe with the creator every day, right? And so I think with me, all my little pivots have always been in the direction of something that I'm into that I can use my pre-existing skills to feed into that and then learn something from that to then pivot to the next thing. And I mean, I'm not saying I'm making good time, but I am moving in the same direction. So, there's always going to be lots of little bouncing around, but ultimately, even Web3 is kind of the culmination of all the things that I've been into hobby wise, and then just kind of built me for this landscape. Yeah, and I'm not going anywhere. That's
Yo,
it.
shout out to you being a good supporter of your close family and like, helping them and putting a roof over their head, but also helping their creativity because a lot of us get stuck creatively. Sometimes I got to rip myself out of the house, rip myself out of the studio and just go talk to regular day people and like, change things up or whatnot. When you're talking to people and you get stuck, what do you do, Chris?
Damn. So I don't have the opportunity to get stuck, man. Give me a mic and like 10,000 people on a stage and I'll just talk their damn faces off. I don't know. I'm not wired that way. I don't run out of shit to say ever. I don't have imposter syndrome for the most part. In Web3, I'll reel back a little bit. I don't go on stages in Web3 and just talk just so that people can hear me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not out there just like, hey, everybody pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. And there's only one reason for that. Because that doesn't automatically hit the other people until I've got shredded or built to the point where like it really is automatic and me getting a lot of attention equals other people getting attention and it's creating opportunity for them because you really only have one shot to get people's attention and get them to do something. So that call to action is not just, hey, I'm Chris, I'm about this. Like when you look into me, I want you to find out that there's these things that I can actually fulfill a need that you have. And that need being fulfilled doesn't even necessarily have to be for me. Just like with Gary Vee, you don't have to get Gary to do your thing, but you found out that there's this world that exists. You need to be taking action on it. And Vayner's got you if you got the budget, right? Like Vayner's got the people there that are going to cover this. That's why they have so many damn employees because it's a scalable thing. Having Gary do all the work for you is not scalable. Having me do all the work for you is not scalable. So it comes with a premium, of course, but like that's not to say that it's because I'm so amazing. It's because I only have 24 hours like everybody else. So if I'm going to build this thing, then it has to happen in a way that serves a lot more than just me. And so I don't think I'm at that point yet where like I need to make the most noise. I will, promise. I can't wait. It actually sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I used to jump up on the stage and scream and shout and all that stuff, but I like listening more now. And those more intimate spaces, you build a lot more, and then you find out a lot more as you like move on. Like there's a lot of social engineering and a lot of other ways than just getting drained out here. You know what I mean? Just real life. I came in a little naive about the utopia in this space, but one of my brothers who I met in the space over a year ago, starting tomorrow, will be our year anniversary. Welcome to the stage, Jack. But Jack, before you come off the mic, can you join the stream? Because I know you got an AR filter, baby. Can you join the stream with us too, or no?
Boo, I'm cooking dinner right now, so I can't stream. I love that you just nailed our friend anniversary, my friend. JPEG J2, approaching our 1 year. It's actually amazing. Thanks for hosting this space. I hear you're still saying eye contact's important. That's one thing I never forgot, bro. So I had a question for Chris, actually. Chris, you said that you floored the brakes and you kind of accelerated into this Web3 thing. What about Web3 caused you to kind of like, what was your click moment almost where that mindset shifts and it goes, whoa, wait a minute, there's something here? What was that for you?
I love to have an actual like definite example of what that was. So I had spent about a year on Clubhouse and I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like the first 3 months especially were amazing. I got to meet some of the craziest people ever during like early 2021, January, February, March. Those were like the golden like moments there. So I made a few friends that I'd learned about YouTube. Like YouTube Shorts was about to come out. TikTok had just been banned in India. Like all this stuff was in motion and just serendipitously kind of came together where I met certain people. One of those people hit me up in December of 2021 and she had launched a couple different successful collections, my friend String, and she launched a collection called Chubby Corns and that took and basically, it was 2021, you throw an idea in the wind, millionaire. But it wasn't just that. She's a badass. So she had Steve Aoki get involved, and then she had all these other people that were like, there was all this momentum. So she did a second launch, and she did a collection called Chubby Friends. And so she hits me up in December, and I'm like full bozo. I'm annoyed with Gary Vee because I don't know what the hell he's talking about anymore. I'm like, I can't, I'm trying, but I can't care. I'm trying to care, can't do it. And so String hits me up and she's like, hey, do you have any NFTs? And she was like, she wants to ask me about like what I know about it. I'm like, nothing. I got nothing. She's like, you got a minute? Do you got a few minutes? And I was like, yeah. I come outside. It was like nighttime out because she's in Australia, so it was probably the morning. She's probably just chilling, like checking boxes, do this and that today. I'm like end of the day, and Strings got me out here. Like I'm like Brave browser, what MetaMask, like seed phrase. So she walks me through all this stuff and just spoon feeds me. And the whole purpose for it was just prior to Christmas, and she'd asked me if I owned any NFTs, if I whatever, and I had nothing. And so she goes, I want you to show your kids these chubby friends that I have in my wallet. I've got she had like 20 or so of her own collection in there. And so she's like, have each of your boys, because I have a 14-year-old and I have a 6-year-old, and she's like, have them look in my wallet and tell me what the ones that they resonate with. For whatever reason, they like one, tell me which one it is. So I came back and told her which one it was like the next day, and she's like, all right, check your wallet. The one that she set up, like helped me do and spoon fed me. And so she sent me these 2 NFTs, and I'm like, cool, this is awesome. Like kind of still weird, but whatever. I got a cute little raccoon and a little cat with a bowl on its head. Like, all right. And then I was like, let me see, like, oh, these things are worth a certain amount of Ethereum. Holy shit, these things are worth money. Like that was it. Light switch. It wasn't until I had done all the steps, I've been educated, I'd done all these things, still I didn't care. I heard Gary talk about it, all these things, still didn't care. And then after I had been spoon fed and then airdropped and all these things, I still didn't care until I saw that the thing that I had digital ownership of was worth something in real life. And it was just, I got skin in the game. I instantly cared. So that was it. And like, I had a little bit of a runway to spend some time, because as soon as that hook went in me, I was like, all right, I think I need to do what Gary said and spend like a week. I need to spend like 40 hours learning about this. And so I dove in and started trying to get involved with different projects and do different things and just spend all these times and spaces. Most of it was confusing. I didn't really get it. But then that 40 hours turned into 80 and 160. And I just never went back. So still down the rabbit hole.
So Chris, how do you like, I think you called it vanity metrics earlier, where it's like you do all this work, you get all these views, you put out all this content, you grow an account, but it doesn't actually translate to, money into the creator's pocket. It's like I view Web3 as a way that relationship hopefully shifts, where the best creators, the content creators, they actually can make a living off their content finally by utilizing Web3. I'm kind of curious, if you plan to bring Flyride or some of your YouTube content to Web3 to mint it as video NFTs to then try and put it on a platform, or kind of where you see this space going with your content.
Yeah, well, I mean, it went from I came from this Web 2 thing where, to be honest, people spend money on things that they don't need, that don't help them, that get them in trouble, that cost a lot. Nobody actually cares but them. It was just this, like, I kind of got really, really like jaded on even my own message, which was like, go do something, but it doesn't hit either of the 3 prime verticals. So you don't learn about health, you don't learn about wealth, and you don't learn about relationships. Matter of fact, you're going to lose friends, you're going to lose your wealth, and you're definitely not going to be any better off health-wise. Like, this is all bad. Everything I do has got no future. COVID had just hit, and I was like, why the hell do I build headlights for people? Like, what value does this have in the long run? So then when I came into Web3 and I started looking around, I was like, and like, no offense to anybody if you're a Web3 marketer here, I was like, these people suck so bad at marketing. They're terrible. It was like they were so lazy from a whole year of just printing money. Every dumbass idea was making people millionaires. And they were soft. They were just soft. And I was like looking around like, nobody's building any like any real brand. Nobody's building businesses. Nobody's like doing long form storytelling or anything like that. I was like, there's a lot of opportunity here to like try to get involved. And I learned very quickly that like doing things because someone's like, oh, you're really good at this. Help me. Dude, I went out on all sorts of limbs for people and then they just all snapped. And so I was like 2.5 months in, way out of runway, $0, upside down completely. And I was like, well, I mean, I get that there's opportunity here. So as long as I don't die, things should work out. And I literally used like the last little bit of money that I had on a credit card. I was like so damn broke just to drive out to NFTLA. And I had a meeting with somebody that I was gonna talk to them about doing content with them. And nobody knew I was broke. So it was just my thing I kept to myself. And I go out, have this meeting, and essentially it was, hey, we're a Web2 company. We're coming in here. We've had a lot of success. You know, we made a lot of money, did a big exit on something. We want to come in here. We need to do it. We understand that you think that content is the way. You can help us make these videos. You can help us like, you know, show up. Nobody was doxxed. You can help us do all these things that no one else is doing. And we want to hire you for a year and pay you $150,000 and you exclusively work for us. And I was like, damn, that's super sweet. But like, nope and no. Like, I don't want to work exclusively for you. And I can't sign a year thing because what if I don't even like you guys in a couple months? Like, that's not a good thing. I don't want to find myself back in another position where I'm like golden handcuffed to something like I had been before. And I repitched the deal and said, pay me a bunch of money every month and it'll be a month-to-month deal. And like, if you want to do it, let's do it. And they did. And I helped them mint out and they made millions of dollars. And I got a nice little cut. And like, and then that was it. I was like, dope. Okay. And it wasn't even like I took a percentage of the mint. I just got brought on as a marketer, as an editor. In Hollywood, editors are making like between 12 to 15 grand a month. I was making 12 grand a month just working for one collection, making content all the damn time, training up their editors, training them, teaching them how to do stuff. And it was worth every penny because they made millions. And then, you know, they got to expand from there and come the point that I was ready to leave because like I wasn't doing anything for me, to your point about like me bringing content here and minting it and doing all that. Shredditor had kind of been just sitting and waiting all that time. And I was taking so much money and doing so much work for one client. I wasn't building my thing. And that is kind of my resounding message to everybody. Do whatever you want to do in Web3. Work for whoever you want to work for in Web3, as long as, you know, ethically they're good. Don't work for rugs, but always build your own brand. Always build your shit. Because if you don't, you're one angry client away, or maybe they change some shit up, then it's all gone. And then you're like scrambling. So that was a big part of my journey. But I could tell you, I made more money in my first year in Web3 than I ever had doing full-time fly ride for those 19 years. So, I mean, and I didn't even do a good job. I feel like I could have done way better. So I think the opportunities are absolutely abundant in this space for sure.
Have you found it easier to be doxxed with your, you know, PFP as your human versus an NFT? And do you own NFTs? You're not posing, right? You're not a poser now. We know what that is in the skate scene.
No, it's so weird. Like that's my thing is I've always supported most of the NFTs that I have are like my friend Violetta or Sammy Arriaga or you know, the projects that I was working with or whatever. I never went after blue chip things. Here's the thing for me. I almost never like am supposed to get into the place that I'm trying to get into, but I get in. And like it's never about like, oh, I have a special access key, therefore I'm accepted in. It's generally like value is your access key. So if I can provide value to anyone or anything, it generally opens doors. And so I think I would love to say that of the couple hundred NFTs I have, that like that I have anyone that I would want to rock as a PFP or whatever. And I you know, I'm not to take away from some of my friends' projects that I've, you know, rocked their PFP for different apps, or I'd have like little components of it like added to my real boy picture. You know what I mean? And I'd put like a hexagon around my thing so that It looked like it was a hexagon, but it was just a circle. You know what I mean? With a little template on there. That's how I've kind of done that. But my brand is my face. You know what I mean? I always wear a flannel. I always got a stupid hat on that's got green underneath. I don't know why. That's just what it became in Web3. So I'm not fighting it. I'm just building on it.
No, I love that answer. You know what I mean? Because we're all here for different reasons. I'm a collector. I like you mentioned collecting toys. I got into the space from trading a toy for NFTs, and I needed Ethereum. And then here we are. Jay, you had a question. I saw you raising your hand up in the apartment pod.
Yeah, I was raising my hand up to be like, preach, when you were talking about, building your own brand, because that's something that, like, I felt right from the beginning. It's like, I can come in and be a consumer, but I also, we talk about building by consuming, and that's not enough. Like, you really got to be building through providing yourself, right? But we've talked so much about like your past, where you came from. What are your sort of like visions for the future of Shredditor?
Definitely so I'm building this thing because I love it. I love content creation. I love business development. So for me, my favorite part is to sit with business owners and just genius people that are doing super, super cool things, or to work with hosts, such as yourself, and like have these conversations about business and about personal branding and creating what I've created. I've already done it. And so the vanity metrics to me don't matter because I already know what it looks like behind the curtain. And for the vast majority of big creators that you see, especially across TikTok and things like that, is like, it's it. That's it. That's all the whole story. You see it. Face value. It is an inch deep. You look behind the curtain, it's like, cool. Well, make videos on your phone all day long and you're just taking the worst deals ever because you don't know business. You don't have a actual brand. And if TikTok gets shut down tomorrow, you're toast. You're working at Home Depot. So like that to me is I see opportunity so many times to work with creators that don't have the business sense, but I love business and I love creating content. And so for me, the funnest part is like being a translator between the two worlds. I always say, if the guy who has the money, who wants to use the internet, to use videos to make more money, if he thinks that the commodity is the content creator, he's confused, because you can replace him every day of the week with another businessman who has money, who has a business that wants to make money with content on the internet. Meanwhile, the creator is special, and they've been squeezed and abused for years, where like, I'll just throw you scraps and like dance. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they kind of get treated like clowns. And like for me, I get that because there's so many clowns that are willing to take money to do whatever. And I look at this as like, I would much rather have a CEO sit down with me and say, we want to hire a Shredditor to find the best producer and editor, and we want to start this video, and I want to tell them who I am, what my name is, and show them the logo of my successful company, and we're gonna make content. And I just tell that guy, like, bro, nobody cares what your name is. Nobody cares what your logo looks like. That's never how you should start a video. You're going to hire a creator and then tell them how to create? Are you out of your mind? You want to waste your money? Why don't you hire a creator and let that person be a talented creator? And then they can do the thing that you're not good at, and you know you're not good at it because you're talking to me. If you were good at it, you'd be doing it. And maybe your time is way better spent being a badass CEO, not being a creative director and being a micromanager in the weeds of content creation. So like what I see Shredditor being is me getting to have those fun ass conversations, because that lights me up, man. I'm ready to go right now. but most content creators are not that. They're artists, they want to do their thing. And like, they don't want to sit and have those uncomfortable, how awkward that conversation is. Like having to advocate for yourself and telling somebody else what you're worth while they're telling you that they can get it cheaper somewhere else. Man, that's not for the artist. They don't like that shit. I love to sell. So I'm going to sell the shit out of myself and anybody that I believe in. So that's the future of Shredditor. Me doing that at scale.
Yo,
Print
I'm
it,
fucking
scream
pumped.
it, post it.
I'm
I'm
pumped.
hyped too.
Clip it. I'm pumped. So we got 9 minutes. We got 9 minutes to go, but I can keep them a longer. I see some people down there that I know that are incredible. Don't be shy. Come up in here. Also, if you want to get up in the stream, maybe you got some art you want to share off, but maybe you got a question, maybe you got some flowers to throw, whatever. But Fly it, right. What can be done to help improve the space user interface overall? I ask this to all my guests.
Yeah, this dude. So here's one of my favorite things that I do on a regular basis, as somebody who very much enjoys sitting in Twitter spaces, learning from other people, all that. Like the learning is the biggest thing. But as a community member and just just a member of the overall space, one of the things that I love to do is give the gift of content. And what that looks like is if I hear somebody say something that's smart or funny or like, and I'm kind of an emotional iceberg, so I generally don't have the things that hit me in the feels, but when they do, boy, do I notice, because I'm like, wow, that moved me. Like I need to like stop and recognize what just happened. And so I'll look at like what, who said what time was it at? And so I'll open my phone really quick. I always use Google Keep, my favorite note keeping app. It's free, Google Keep. And I'll start a new thing. I'll title it the name of the room. I'll grab the URL for the live, the Twitter space, put that in the first line, and then I'll just put what the thing is that I just heard, like a 3-word description of what just happened. And then I'll put a little dash, I'll put the name of the speaker, and I'll put the timestamp of what it was. I just do that. That in itself is like the hugest value to anybody. If you go no further than that, that is the gift of content in itself. Yo, here's this timestamp. You said this dope thing. I appreciate you. If you really want to hack the system, capture all of those that you want, and then you can make a post about it on Twitter and just be like, this person said this person said that. You tag them all. Guess who's going to retweet that shit? Everybody that you tagged on that, because that's dope that you did that. You don't have to spend all the time to put the pictures and videos, but you can. So those are kind of little things that I think about. And then to take it way further, I'll go back to those spaces and I'll follow my timestamp and I'll find that exact moment on the replay and I'll screen record it. And now we've actually got the person's voice. They're saying it. I can use that to create content, add captions, add cool visuals, all these different little things. That's how I teach my editors how to go through and take these moments that were just somebody talking to their phone into Twitter, aka not making content, and then we make content with that, because that's all we need. Everybody doesn't have to be a content creator, but like if I could tell anybody in this space, you want to be valuable and you want to pump your own bags, do that. Make content for your collection. Make content for your favorite influencer or whoever. You're trying to get on somebody's radar, do it. There's a reason Thread Guy's blowing me up after his space is excited and saying like, dude, we need to clip content. I told him it wasn't your idea for you to hit me up, bro. I've been stalking you on this space. I've been hunting you, bro, for months. This was by design that you want me to make content, because fire stuff happens in those spaces. I timestamp them, I turn them into content, and my guy needs content. And anybody could do it. Anybody could do any part of what I just laid out.
100%. I've actually told Jack to clip stuff, and I've sent him audio tabs of his spaces because they're so lit. Wiz Pill, what is good? You got a question for Chris D, Fly Ride Shredder today?
I'll preface this by saying that I'm technically currently in a war zone, so if you hear disturbance in the background, that's why, because it's be like that. The CD is always heated. But yeah, I definitely wanted to co-sign the whole making content thing that you're talking about, because a lot of the stuff I've been doing on this account specifically is documenting the things I'm personally interested in. For one, I focus my time on covering the intersection of arts, culture, and tech, and I've always made it a point to share some of these insightful comments made in these spaces, and it baffles me, for one, that a lot of these conversations don't get recorded in some capacity, because you can download spaces now, and you can then repurpose that with other tools, with AI, for example, and essentially improve the quality of the initial audio into something that's podcast ready, which I have done already. And I think I've published up to 25 hours of content solely off of running my own Twitter spaces. So I really want to emphasize what you're saying in terms of creating content. It's not a
And I'm going to just shut you down right there real quick because the first thing you should know about when creating content is come up here with a good mic. But I appreciate it that you came up in here, Wizpill, because you were in another spaces. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to be rude. But good Lord, man. Y'all know that I give the trophy away when people have the batteries low on their smoke alarms. And Wizpill just came up in here and topped that. He said, fuck your smoke alarm sound. I'm gonna one you up, and wow, wow. But just please, just stay on the mute for right now. That was intense. So yeah, so he said something good. He went back to what you were saying, Fly Ride, about your ship with a hole in it, and so we're gonna make sure that this entire hour that we spent up here, as one of my good friends Benny Klein of Tenacious Toys would say, streams, right? Little boats. And we're going to take this whole hour and we're going to fold it up into nice little paper boats and we're going to put it down our different streams. I just saw, and I should have already said this, but I've seen it. Prez usually streams us this live spaces on his YouTube as well. Can that get added in right now or is it too late? Like, how does this work? We can do things
It won't.
Right?
It won't retroactively be in there, but you could 100% throw the replay up there. You know what I mean?
That sounds great. I love stuff like that. I always want to know things like that. If you guys have any comments that you want to get up on the big screen, we have a little teleprompter down in the bottom going.
A little scrolling marquee.
Yeah.
That's old school internet stuff right there. Hey, I did want to say one thing about what Wiz brought up though. He mentioned about the AI even with audio, which was mad ironic at the time because the beeping in the background. But what I was thinking in my head during that moment was two things. Number one, voice isolation is fire. If you're ever in a place that's noisy, you're driving your car, you're walking down the street, you're doing whatever on Twitter Spaces, top right corner of your screen, swipe down, you'll get this little icon where you can choose what audio mode you want to be in. One of those is sound isolation or voice isolation, and it'll actually block out a lot of the background noise. So that's one easy thing. But then the other one is the Adobe AI podcast little like sound enhancer. That thing, I could literally load the clip of when Wiz was talking, and it will, for the most part, pull out that beeping. There'll be a little bit of bleed over because it was loud as shit, but like I'd say the vast majority of it in the background will be gone. So 2 little hacks if you care about audio. Clearly you do.
Yeah, see, this is why I allow everybody up here on the stage to come and do any input, because just like that, by you coming up in here, Wizpill, you helped add, and other people were like, hey, how can I do this? Because I'm sure other people work in really loud environments. So thank you for that. Jay just pulled up on the stream right now, Prez's stream, which you can see his YouTube going right now, which has a sick render of my clone doing like 360s, which is pretty dope with the Twitter live spaces. Like, this is like fourth, fifth dimensions that we're breaking down here. Chris, we're at the top of the hour. Before I shut us down, can I give you the second to last word? And don't feel rushed. Take your time. You're a very well thought out speaker. I've enjoyed talking to you, and I know you're not for hire, but hopefully we can change that. And I need a Shredditor.
Oh yeah, no, and listen, like just to everybody, like I think everybody in this space, a lot of times they're trying to find out where they fit in, where they can be of value, whatever. And I mean, I'll just double down on what I had said before. Just pay attention, and when something hits you right, like let somebody know. I can't tell you how many times I've just been randomly tagged in a nice thing that somebody had to say about me. And I think what people say about you when you're not around is truly like that is a big part of what success looks like to me. If people are talking good about you and you haven't even seen them for days or whatever, and something comes to mind that's valuable, and they're like, man, that makes me think of my buddy Chris. Like I'm one. I know this space, there's some weird stuff going on where people don't want to give flowers. Oh man, give me flowers all the time. Like anytime you want to give me flowers, I will frame that shit up and I will show people because I am proud of the fact that you gave me flowers and I want to give you props for it. So I think when you can do that and you can give anybody some pats on the back in this space, you don't know what they're going through. So maybe that pat on the back was exactly what they needed. And that thing that they're providing, maybe they're thinking about stopping it because they feel like they're just throwing their efforts into the abyss and then you come through and you're like, yo, I love when you do this, or you're so good at that. Those little things, man, they matter a lot. So definitely don't hold back compliments to people, because you never know what they're going through. That's it.
Thank you, Chris, so much. And thank you for the time. You already know what time it is, y'all. Tune in next week, same day, same time. I'm getting used to the video streaming. I'm loving it, but I love having my clone. Hopefully I'll have the full body out there. I got the gear on. I'll love it. You know, catch me tomorrow on Twitter Spaces with Artifact Creators. We're talking to Jay Marino from Argentina, one of the incredible animators who taught himself how to do CG art all from scratch from YouTube College. So with that, we will leave you. Catch y'all next week. Later.
It's Web3.